So November, very much for Marvel and DC, seems like a month where it's like, cool, what more money can we get out of those people? What new miniseries, what annuals, what one-shots, what additional tie-ins to Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths can we pump out? And as a long-term strategy, that's terrible.
Yep, but that's what the comics industry is built on.
That is penny wise and pound foolish.
Long-term strategy.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dale Bush.
We're starting this one off with some sad news.
What's that?
I need you to ask me that again, but more somber.
What's that?
Tom Palmer died.
I did hear that. 80 years old.
Yeah, 81 years old. Tom Palmer Sr. He was one of the easiest to recognize inkers
Definitely.
in comics.
Did a lot of Steve Epting stuff, if I remember.
A lot of Steve Epting, a lot of John Buscema, a lot of Avengers, really, when you look at it that way.
Yeah.
He did. He inked John Byrne on a Silver Surfer thing, and I want to say the X-Men: The Hidden Years. He was a master, and I can't remember who it was, but they said that if ever Tom Palmer seemed to smother an artist's style and make it his own, it's because they needed him to.
Sure, I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're getting to a point where all the 70s artists, 70s and 80s artists are getting older.
Yeah.
We're all getting older.
It's true, but...
Wait, hold on a second. And now you're 3 seconds older.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I just took that from you.
But yeah, there is that thing of like the artists that I grew up with are now reaching an age where they are starting to pass away. But luckily I haven't gotten any older, so that's great.
I would make a joke about your gray hair, but you don't have any.
Some of the eyebrows.
Yeah, I can't see it. It's fine.
It's very limited.
I try to not look at those. Those are the ones that reflect the light most
Sure.
when you're looking in a mirror.
Sure.
But yeah, Tom Palmer was very, I don't want to say influential in my artistic upbringing, but definitely somebody who I learned to recognize early and understood what he was doing and became somebody that was definitive to my youngest era of reading comics.
Yep.
And comics, we're lucky to have him.
It's true.
Thank you for everything, Tom Palmer.
Thanks, Tom.
And speaking of artists, we went to check out the Bill Sienkiewicz exhibit at the Dunn Museum in Libertyville.
We did, that's right.
Trekked out to Libertyville to look at the Bill Sienkiewicz art. Always fun to see stuff like that up in person. We, in fact, at Challengers have an original page of Bill Sienkiewicz painted art.
We do, yeah, for 30 Days a Night, I think.
Yeah, and it's weird because he painted it on the thinnest of, like, typing paper.
Mm-hmm. Looking at the stuff at the gallery, the exhibition, I guess I should say, a lot of the paper he used was very thin. I don't know why he would do that. I guess maybe it retained color better or was easier to work with.
Or it was whatever was at hand.
It could be. The exhibit was interesting. It was, I think, well designed for a small kind of suburban Chicago exhibition.
Local museum, yeah.
They had a cool little looping video at a central point in the exhibit. Stuff was broken down in interesting ways. You know, Marvel stuff over here, Stray Toasters over there.
A lot of Stray Toasters pages.
Yeah, the downside was that a lot of the material in the exhibition was just like individual character sketches that Bill Sienkiewicz had done. Not necessarily published artwork, but just like, oh, he drew a Harley Quinn. Oh, he drew a Black Panther.
Yeah, and a lot of the definitive Bill Sienkiewicz work is either in the hands of private collectors or doesn't exist, so you weren't getting Moon Knight pages or covers. You weren't getting New Mutants pages or covers. You weren't getting...
Yeah, the biggest sustained block of published pages was Stray Toasters.
Yeah, by a lot.
Everything else, like, there was a Moon Knight piece, but it was, like, not like a key appearance or, like, an iconic page. It was just like, oh, here's a random Moon Knight page that Moon Knight happens to be on. The New Mutants representations were variant covers for New Mutants miniseries from, like, the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So, it depending on what you're going for, if you're, like, a hardcore Sienkiewicz fan, and you're in Chicagoland area, it's I think it's worth going to. It's open through, I think, September 5th.
Yeah, there's a couple more weeks yet.
So plenty of time to go out there. If you're, more of a casual fan or someone who's more interested in just like the kind of published Marvel DC stuff, not really a lot there for you.
You had asked me who I thought the top 3 definitive Sienkiewicz characters were, and my answers were Moon Knight, Warlock, and Elektra.
Elektra took you a while too.
Yeah, I mean, I was debating between
Moon Knight
Daredevil.
immediate, Warlock pretty fast. Elektra was like, man, I kind of had to prompt you. I'm like, really?
He was
Elektra
very
assassin.
Well, because I said, I'm like, well, I'm thinking Elektra, and you're like, you don't think Elektra?
Yeah,
But like Warlock specifically because that was a character he designed,
sure.
and it was so unique to comics at the time.
Seriously, yeah.
And it was reading they have a lot of interesting little articles on the wall, and they really did a fun job reproducing some pages out of his sketchbook, his sketchbooks plural.
Yeah, there was a couple.
Like they had the actual
little
sketchbook
kiosks.
open under glass, but then they had like these hard plastic pages you can flip through.
Yeah, so you
reproducing what
could
was
have
in
the
that
experience
book.
of what it was at that size in a way that was not going to get damaged or stolen.
But one of the articles had mentioned, and I can't remember if I knew this or not, but he was offered X-Men,
Oh, yeah.
and he turned it down because X-Men was the Rolls Royce of Marvel, and he didn't want to be under that kind of scrutiny.
Sure.
And he wanted to be creative and be, to express himself.
Yeah.
So
He would have been a real bad fit for X-Men.
he went for New Mutants. And also there was the great story of how he lived in a rural town, like a farm town, and didn't really know what art was aside from like Michelangelo, the classics.
Sure.
And then he discovered comics, and he discovered Neil Adams, and he became like a Neil Adams clone.
Uh-huh, yeah.
And he just walked into DC's offices with his portfolio full of stuff that he had done just to get work. And they didn't hire him, but Neil Adams was there. So they're like, hey, come here. So they like brought Bill Sienkiewicz to meet Neil Adams. And Neil Adams flipped through the stuff, liked it, picked up the phone, called someone he knew at Marvel and said, I got a guy you want to hire. He looks just like me. His work, obviously.
Right,
not that.
obviously.
So he went over to Marvel, and they offered him Moon Knight on the spot, and he accepted, having no idea who Moon Knight was.
Sure.
Yeah.
Getting back to the X-Men thing, I think Bill Sienkiewicz would have been a good guy in X-Men in like the Barry Windsor Smith role of like once a year he would do like an issue or 2 issues.
Yeah, he can't do the
on
main
his own
book.
characters, like stuff that he could take an ownership in rather than like just doing like, oh, and now they fight the Starjammers. Like that wouldn't do him any favors.
Now, we know that Bill was actually at the museum last weekend. We did not go then. I was working at the store. And also from the photos, it's like, oh my goodness, those lines are huge.
I'm sure.
Plus, I've met Bill Sienkiewicz before. In fact, I met him when he was just starting on New Mutants.
Wow.
And
And you
George...
looked him dead in the eye and said, "You are no Bob McLeod."
He's not a Bob McLeod. Was it Brett Breeding inking that as well? No, yeah, Bob McLeod and Brett Breeding.
Probably.
I think so. George got a Warlock sketch from Bill Sienkiewicz at that time, done out of Sharpie,
Okay.
and it was like $30, I think, at the time.
That's great. That's a hell
And
of a
I
deal.
like it got all
I mean,
purple.
at the time, that's a lot, but
Yeah, it got all purple and stuff over the...
I'm sure.
I wonder if George still has it.
Whenever people look at the sketch wall that we have behind the counter, where it's all drawings on the drywall with Sharpies, I'll always point out like you can tell what the oldest ones are because they're totally faded now.
It's amazing, though. There's some that have faded pretty badly, and there's some that are older that are still vibrant.
It
And like,
depends where the sun hit.
but I was just going to say, they're right next to each other, so it doesn't make any sense.
That is weird.
Just the quality of the ink and the Sharpie, I guess.
Maybe if someone used like a raw, brand new Sharpie, maybe it withstood the ravages of time a little better.
I think the older I get, I'm less interested in meeting most artists. For example, this Bill Sienkiewicz thing, when I heard that he was going to be there, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah,
I mean, again, I've met him before, many, many years ago.
That's always been my attitude, though. Like, I don't like it's fun meeting people in a social capacity. If I was at a party and Bill Sienkiewicz was at a party, it'd be fun to talk to Bill Sienkiewicz. But
Trick question now, you're not going to parties.
I wouldn't.
What if you
but-
knew Bill Sienkiewicz was going to be there?
But it would be no more or less fun than talking to anybody else at
Yeah.
the same party. Like, it doesn't. Even enjoying the work is like if I ran into like Tula Lotte or something at like how long would I have a conversation with her about her work? not really much. I'd probably talk to her about other stuff.
Yeah, you did. When you met her the multiple times, you talked about movies.
Yeah, So the idea of like going someplace to meet somebody, it's not more interesting to me because they make art.
We did talk to one of the Fan Expo people. Not Fan Expo people. The Fan Expo people. And I had said for next year's show, I gave them a name of a I wanted to say modern artist, but an artist I grew an 80s comic artist.
Yeah, I wouldn't say modern.
But I mean, like if you gauge it by supplies, golden, silver, modern, it's still technically modern.
Sure, but it's somebody who the height of their work was the 1980s.
Yeah, I'm like, so I would like to meet that person, and mainly because I would love to get a piece of artwork from them.
What do you think's even left?
I don't know, but I meant like when I met Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, I bought some sketches he'd done for like a style guide, not the DC style guide, but like that, like a break, something like that. I would be that jerk lugging one of the artist editions around, to get that signed probably. But aside from that person, there's so many. Like, who else would it be? I don't know. Yeah. I had a really great experience with Gene Colan years ago when I was doing the convention circuit, and we were set up in Novi.
Right. And
his table was like a kitty corner from where we were set up. And he was there with his wife. And he needed something from the convention, but I walked over and said, "You need help? Can I get you something?"
Right.
So I did it, and then I was the guy he asked for stuff the rest of the show, even though I didn't work for the show. Right. And I was super happy to do it because it's Gene Colan.
Of course.
And when things were slow, I would run over and chat. And I may have just grabbed a book out of the back issues to have him sign it, but I also have art books of his that I've bought that came pre-signed.
Yeah, there's people I would...
But I'm glad... My point is, I'm glad I had that experience with him as opposed to, he signed my books.
Yeah, you stood in line and he signed a book and you left.
Yeah.
There's people at a convention that I would make time to get a print from or get something... I wouldn't bring anything to get signed necessarily, but I would, if I could very quickly and easily get something from J.H. Williams, I would do that. I'm not going to wait in a 2-hour line to meet J.H. Williams, and I'm not going to go super far out of my way to meet him, but if I'm at a show and he's at a show and the table's there and I can get something, great. The only people I would probably go out of my way for, my top three, Tula Lotay, who I already met, Guru Hiru, and Sophie Campbell. So, I would go out of my way to see Sophie Campbell or Guru Hiru. Guru Hiru knowing that they don't speak English.
Nor come to the States.
So my ability to actually interact with them would be severely limited, mostly just be thank you. But yeah, even then, when I say go out of my way, I mostly mean make time to go to a show locally that I wouldn't normally be going to specifically because they were there. I wouldn't go out of state for it.
Sure. And to be fair, the person that I want to see, they were at Comic-Con Revolution a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I just didn't go to that.
Sure.
So I don't know that they may be I don't want to go back to Chicago. I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I did buy something from Ramona Fradon during the pandemic.
Okay.
But it was just stuff that was available on her website.
Sure.
But it's signed.
There you go.
But stuff like that. As people are no longer producing work,
right?
It's would I have wanted something by Tom Palmer? I don't know. But I mean,
depending on who is thinking.
Yeah, I appreciate him as a fairly major part of my comic upbringing. Sure. Yeah, meeting people and it's interesting, and the people that can wait in line for hours, that's great. That's an experience you have. We talked about it before. I stayed in. It wasn't a long wait at all, but I've paid for the photo ops with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks way before there was AEW. Yeah. And I still remember the 6 seconds I got with them. And David Tennant with George and Parker. Sure. Yeah, and he said, "Nicely done" to us.
Yep. Yeah. You'll always have that. They can't take that away from you.
And so those pictures are hanging up because those people are influential is the wrong word, I think, but major components of my life. Yeah, exactly. Which is why there's no pictures of you hanging up on my place.
That's completely fair.
That's actually a lie. Here's a picture of us at Heathrow on the refrigerator.
That's true.
Yeah.
And also at one of many restaurants that's now, I think, like Italian barbecue place or something. It was Honey One Barbecue, I think, back then.
Yeah.
But it's since then, since 15 years ago, it's become like 4 different restaurants.
But this is the first time it's not a barbecue place. It's an Italian barbecue.
It's Italian barbecue.
So it's weird. What's also weird is working in the building that we've worked in for 14 and a half years or so, and every once in a while they will change the panel, the keypad, and how you get into the lobby of the building.
Yeah, and the lobby of the building is just for the residential units on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floors. But it does connect to the rest of the ground floor, like the commercial units that we are in.
Exactly. And the way that our building was built way back in the day was poorly.
Yeah.
And we cannot enter through our front doors.
Yeah, we designed them to not be able to be gotten into because people were breaking in.
Yeah, they were too easy to break in. So
Yeah.
the way to prevent
So,
it was to make sure nobody gets in, including us.
Right.
So we have to get in through the back.
Right.
And last week they changed the panel. And every time they change the panel, it's a new process. It's a new door pin code and then our individual pin code. And the last 2 times they've done it, they haven't put us in the panel.
Right.
So I had to be like, hey, you got to put us in this. This time, they've completely ignored all of my attempts to contact them. And we've luckily had alternate ways to get in, but those are ones that cannot be relied upon normally. And it's just frustrating to be like, we pay you money every month.
Yeah, we literally just want to get into the building that we're paying rent for.
Yeah, if we can't get in, we can't pay you rent.
And you're saying no. So, that doesn't feel great.
Like, there's been no, like, hey, we'll get to it, or not even a no, just complete ghosting.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like anything that, because of the technology involved, I don't think they'd even need to send someone out to do
you
it.
should be able to program it from a distance.
Right. It doesn't feel like it's that tricky.
It's annoying. It's also, I'll say it, disrespectful.
A little bit.
Don't like it.
But only to Molly Jane, so, I'm not that put out.
Yeah, I don't. But there was a couple weeks ago, there was a Friday I got there and the garage door wouldn't open. Because it got locked. Like
Sometimes.
the lock got set from the inside.
Yep.
So I had to go through the other way.
Yep.
Can't do that now.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't know how much of a dick to be when emailing, or maybe I just call.
I think just call at this point. Like,
Yeah.
if sometimes what I feel like is that when you're not getting a response via email in the manner that you'd expect or the time you'd expect, it's probably because that person doesn't work there anymore. So the person you're emailing, there may be no one monitoring that inbox. So you may have to call a number and just find out, hi, who do we talk to about this?
Yeah, good point. Especially since the last couple of major issues we've had, we've solved by ourselves. And when I say solved, I mean work around.
Yep.
We've worked around.
Yep.
What I would like to work around, Dal, I admit it's not one of my better ones, but I'll take it,
It's okay.
is all of the solicitations for November.
Yes.
Now,
I only looked at, what did I look at? Marvel, DC, and
isn't that enough?
IDW.
Oh, I did Image today.
I didn't look at Image yet. I mean, I got an email from Image where I downloaded a whole bunch of PDFs, which I'll be reading soon. We started recording a little earlier tonight than we normally do.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you, but my plan was to spend the extra time reading those PDFs so I would have something to talk about on the podcast. But then I didn't have time.
Well,
Lesson learned.
We'll talk about November 22. Image has 8 new number ones.
They have a bunch.
Yeah. And here's what I was doing. People who listen to this podcast regularly may have remembered that I complain about solicitation copy often. So I was reading aloud to Lizzie today the solicitation copy and then the elevator pitches that they give us as well. Mm-hmm. And then I would say, okay, Lizzie, what is this book about that I just told you? Because you can't do it.
No, it's real tricky.
There's a couple, like the solicitation for Plushie, spot on. Like the first
plush.
sentence alone is like, oh, plush. Cannibalistic. Like there was another word, not underground,
like homicidal
humanoid.
or
something. Yeah, homicidal, cannibalistic plushies. Yeah, furries. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
By the people that gave you plastic and vinyl. I'm in. I
Yeah.
get it. I know what this world is.
The title makes sense in sequence, and the concept makes sense for people who enjoy those other
Yeah,
books.
but also the way they
Does
describe it. And they give you more like, the main character is going to his very first furry convention against his will, and he stumbles across a bunch of furries literally eating someone, and now they're after him, and he doesn't know if it's to eat him or for something worse.
Right. Yeah, good concept.
Right there. Give it to you right there. And then, obviously they say for fans of this, or what.
Right.
Whatever. Great. The other ones, there's one called Gospel.
Yeah.
No clue what it's about.
Gospel's a tricky one because I saw the preview pages of it, and I think it looks really good. But, yeah, the description of it, like, even just looking at it was like, oh, it's just a fantasy story.
For
like-
fans of Isola and Miyazaki.
Like, the pitch is, look at this artwork. But you can't
Right.
describe that in a way that's going to make it compelling to people. Like, Image has a very high number of books each month where it's like, I've got to put this in your hands. You have to open it up and look at it and go, holy crap, I want to read that story.
But because Image isn't doing returnability anymore, we're not taking chances on their books.
No, I don't.
We can't.
It's very hard to do it because again, like, the only way to sell it is to hand sell it, and you can't hand sell everything, and it depends on the week. We've had instances where really good Image stuff launches alongside really good Image stuff and really good DC stuff and really good Marvel stuff, and you have to kind of pick, like, what do I think the best, like, overall return on my limited amount of time to pitch a book to someone is. Like, if it's a Image miniseries where a third of the people are going to say yes, and even then it's like a 5-issue miniseries, I'm probably not going to do that over a Marvel book that's an ongoing series that 75% of people are going to say yes to.
Especially if it has...
I've got to pick my shot.
Like, a lot of these Image books are either unknown creators or first-time creators,
Right.
or not household names for comic
Exactly the
fans.
stuff that you'd want to make returnable.
Yeah. And exactly the kind of stuff that people need to be placed in their hands so you can say, no, this is worth it. But 2 new number ones a week from Image is a lot,
It's a lot.
not counting everything else. I believe November is a 5-week month because, oh my god, are there so many one-shots, so many annuals.
I can look, but DC specifically is... Their solicits are for the first week or 2 of December as well.
That's true, yes. But Marvel has so many one-shots.
They do.
So many one-shots, and so many
November
of them...
is indeed a 5 Wednesday month.
Okay. So many of the Marvel books just feel like IP holders. Or, we've got a movie coming
Yeah.
out. Yeah, we'll do a Blade Blade whatever.
Sure.
So, I can't...
There's a Guardians of the Galaxy one-shot to tie into the Ride at Epcot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Synergy.
Cosmic Rewind comic. Yep.
And it's stuff like that. And I do this a lot. I'm like, oh, it hurts my head. It was so bad yesterday, I didn't even finish. I'm like, I can't.
I'm very excited to...
I can't go through this anymore.
I look through them and I'm very excited to spend a bunch of Sunday trying to start constructing the email to subscribers.
Oh, man.
A lot of stuff is not going to get called out because I just...
No.
I don't have... Like,
I'll tell you this.
I
A
don't
lot of
wanna
stuff is
make
not
it-
going to get initial ordered.
I don't want to make it an email that takes 15 minutes to read. I don't want to do that.
Because no one's going to read that.
Nope.
DC alone has like 6 facsimile editions.
They have a lot. It's true.
It's amazing. And some of them are like, I'm sorry, the Death of Superman, or Superman 75 commemorative edition,
true.
which is just $3.99. Just call it a facsimile.
It's really weird, yeah.
The first appearance of Nubia and Wonder Woman. The first appearance of Robin and Batman.
I
The
think
first
the first
appearance
Justice
of...
League, I think. Was that one of them?
Yeah.
Brave and the Bold, whatever.
Yep. So many... and I like all those. I fall for those.
You do. You tend to buy almost all of them.
Yeah.
I think maybe all of them.
I'm not buying the Superman 75 commemorative edition.
No? You don't want to commemorate the worst day as a retailer you've ever had?
Oh, that day is long been surpassed. That
Really?
was back then, yeah.
I think just recently you said that was the worst day you ever had as a retailer.
I don't know. I do you mean like when the store's open and you're running the counter? I think having
I don't know how you defined it.
having blue looted is a way worse retailer day.
Well, that's one of the worst things about owning worst days as a business owner.
Yeah.
I think the way I always took it when you would use that for Superman 75 was that working the store. Like one of the worst days.
Yes, working the store is my worst day. Every day. That's not true.
I know it's not true.
And for every, oh, this book could be good, it's like, oh man, there's so many new Batman series. There's so many new Spider-Man things. Oh God, most of these miniseries haven't even wrapped up yet.
Yeah,
Come on.
I think there's a slight difference between you and I, where I think I have a little bit better of an ability when looking through the Marvel and DC stuff to kind of separate out the things where I'm like, I don't think this is a necessary book for the medium of comics, but I think we're going to sell a lot of copies of Batman and Joker, The Deadly Duo by Mark Silvestri.
And we will. And can I just say how much I hate the idea of that?
You don't even have to tell me.
It's just that it's the Batman Who Laughs all over again.
This is like
it's the idea that a 14-year-old boy has.
This is maybe the 8th time in the last decade that someone's done a "what if Batman had to team up with the Joker" story. Like, it happens a lot. But it's going to sell great because it's Mark Silvestri, who I think still has some older fans, and Batman teaming up with the Joker. It's you're talking about how difficult it is to do the elevator pitch for Gospel, where Batman and the Joker, the Deadly Duo, is its own pitch.
It is. It really is.
You
Batman
don't
and
need
the
to
Joker
do anything
team up
else.
to save Harley Quinn. Boom.
And even my complaint about, like, that's such a hackneyed idea, so many of the people who've gotten into comics over the last 3 years, it's all new to them. You can pull all this shit out of the mothballs, and to them, it's the most, like, unique and original idea in the history of fiction. So great, let them have it. 7-issue series, 2 issues come out in the first 6 weeks or whatever. Great.
Well, I mean, I hope 2 issues come out in 6 weeks.
That's not a given with Black Label stuff.
Yeah, no, I know. And that's
especially
the one,
over the holidays,
because that I think was the first book in the DC solicits. I'm like, they're doing 2 in a month. Oh no, it's
right.
the first. It's a month and a half.
Did you see that Mitten cover?
I didn't. I saw there was one. I didn't see it.
He's doing the Chris Mitten's doing the Rom V Detective Annual.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wait, was his the
one where Joker's hanging upside down and there's like a Batman cave swooping around it. He's kind of coming up from underneath the Joker.
I thought his might have been the one that looked like a Jock one, where it was like Joker's face.
No.
But his mouth is the cityscape that you're looking up at, and little Batman is in the middle.
George Fornes, maybe?
Okay.
I think.
Interesting. I would have thought it was more Jock-esque. But I didn't. I didn't
see
bother
what you're
look.
saying.
Yeah. I usually give George Fornes more credit than that.
I could be mistaking him with a different
that's fine.
Like, I part of my brain's like, do I mean Andrea Sorrentino? But I don't think I do. I'm also not going to look it up.
Also, I think it might be Andrea Sorrentino.
You think?
I mean, just from the image I have in my head, I could be misremembering it entirely. Sure. And you're not wrong. That book will do well. It won't do like as well as Batman Spawn. No. Which, when is that book coming out?
I don't remember.
Like, they announced it, but in this month there's a collection of the
right
previous
before
2.
Thanksgiving, the 2 previous Batman Spawn series, including the Frank Miller, Todd McFarlane one, are getting a hardcover collection.
My point is that traditionally November is one of the slowest sales months out of the year, and it feels like
I don't think it's going to happen this year.
Each of the publishers are ramping up what they're doing.
Which, when you talk about slow months in comics retail, it's always unclear if it's a chicken or the egg thing. Do you know what I mean?
Is it slow because nothing is coming out, or is it slow because people are saving their money for Christmas?
Basically, yeah. Like, if better stuff was released, if more stuff was released, would there be higher sales, or is nothing good released because sales are always going to be low? I guess we'll see this year.
There's too many variables like that in life where...
Well, so...
Like, I take a probiotic every morning.
Right.
Oftentimes I feel like it doesn't do anything, but maybe things would be way worse if I wasn't taking it, you know? Just because you don't feel better doesn't mean you couldn't be feeling worse.
Yeah, so the thing that I think works in favor of some of the projects that Marvel and DC are doing for November is that, like, I think the argument that you might have is that November sales are down because people aren't really coming in. Like, the casual shopper's not really coming in. They're waiting until December. So what you really have is your core customer group, your core clientele. So November, very much for Marvel and DC, seems like a month where it's like, cool, what more money can we get out of those people? Like, what new miniseries, what annuals, what one-shots, what additional tie-ins to Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths can we pump out? And as a long-term strategy, that's terrible.
Yep. But that's what the comics industry is built on.
That is penny wise and pound foolish.
Long-term strategy.
But it's as a 1 month thing, as a, like, how do we bump up this 1 month? It's maybe viable. I guess we'll see.
You'll see.
Also, I misused Pennywise and Pound Foolish. That means a different thing.
That's why I'm not writing it down.
Good. I just wanted to mention that for people on the podcast who are listening to this going, that's not what that expression means. It's like, I know that.
I don't understand what it has to do with Stephen King at all.
At all.
Oh, was like Pound Foolish Pennywise's like favorite, like best friend clown?
It's like a Punch and Judy thing, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Speaking of that, there is this new Golden Age #1 from DC that
a whole
sets
new
up.
pop-up imprint.
Yeah, that sets up this whole new line of books, starting with JSA by Jeff Johns.
And Mikkel Yannon.
Yeah, Mikkel Yannon, he's so good.
He's so good.
Yeah.
And then a new Stargirl miniseries by Jeff Johns and Todd Knock.
Less excited about that.
Less excited about that. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what kind of pull Jeff Johns has with the DC audience. He has not really been a huge part of their publishing outside of Doomsday Clock the last few years, and Doomsday Clock doesn't really have the relevance that I think DC might have hoped for when they had initially announced it.
It feels to me that his JSA stuff is spinning out of his involvement in Flashpoint Beyond.
I guess I'm not reading that.
I am, and
I mean, they just showed up in Dark Crisis 3.
The
Justice Society.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But the linking characters are Marionette and the Mime.
Okay, sure.
And they're a big part of Flashpoint Beyond.
Okay.
And they're a big part of his Justice Society thing as well, apparently.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. That's exactly what I thought. I'm like, oh, it's okay. Like, no, we're going to make this a thing. We're going to get right back over no matter what it costs.
Yeah, the glory days of Jeff Johns, it's a while ago, and I know a lot of people who are still reading DC Comics who kind of got into it with that Jeff Johns heyday. I don't know if that's a sizable part of the market anymore. I think the market may have moved on from him. But again, we'll see. DC is usually pretty good about doing returnability for the start of their series. So, we'll see what the subscription numbers look like, and, we'll probably take a pretty aggressive stance on at least the first issue to see if there's a market for it, and then cut it to what's actually selling by issue 2. Or 3, more likely.
More likely.
With how FOCs work.
We should just cut it all. I look at things like the new Wildcat series. Right? Not Wild, I'm sorry. I meant Wild Cards, but you can say Wildcat. There's so many Wildcats. I know it's their anniversary, but there's so many... there's 4 different Wildcat things coming out from DC. Who's this for?
I don't know. I think that one pretty DOA. I don't think either the Wildcats book or the Waller versus Wildstorm thing.
Yeah. And then there's a couple more. There's the
genuinely don't know who's asking.
Grifter is the main of the
Winter Special.
The Winter Special.
Yes, yeah.
Grifter got run over by a reindeer.
Yep, trying to make that happen.
Come on.
Yeah, I remember when the Wildstorm 25th anniversary hardcover came out. I think we sold 1, maybe 2 of those. There wasn't a ton of interest. There weren't people asking for it, and I guess it sold so poorly that now 5 years later, DC's like, what if we take the original material from there and release it for $8 so people will actually buy it and read it?
Right.
So that kind of tells you, I think, everything you need to know about how much nostalgia there is for the Wildstorm properties. And DC's tried to do different reinventions of it or to fold it into the DC universe more. The version that Matt Rosenberg is doing seems like it's a lot more like, let's just do original style Wildcats. They're a superhero team, and Grifter's our POV character, and it's in the DC universe, but I'm sure they'll mostly be doing Wildstorm stuff.
And he did a lot of the Grifter stuff from Future State.
He did, yeah. And Batman Urban Legends, I think.
Yeah. Can't believe that book is still going on.
I really can't. There's a bunch of books each month in the DC solicits. I scroll down, I'm like, this has got to say final issue.
No, they don't. There's so many Batman... Batman, I can't remember the names of them. Like, Batman Nightwatch, fine, that's a kid's book.
Sure.
Fine. But Batman Legends... Trial of Arkham or whatever, that's a thing.
I don't remember that one.
Right, and you shouldn't.
I don't recognize that title.
It wasn't Trial of Arkham, but it's something very much like that.
Sure.
And it's just, you can't, and then explaining one bad day to someone today is, you try to make it as linear as possible. It's like, oh, it's the Killing Joke, but for every individual character, but with different creative teams, and it's not one overarching story.
I honestly, as much as I didn't exactly enjoy Batman One Bad Day the Riddler, I do appreciate...
I saw a video where you recommended it to people.
I recommended people take a look at it. I do appreciate the restraint the DC showed in not calling each one Batman the Killing Riddle.
Yeah, right?
Or Batman the Killing Face. Batman the Killing Freeze. And so on and so forth for 7 issues.
I mean, they probably were going to just call it Batman the Killing, but they just had Batman Killing Time.
Or people would think it was a crossover between Batman and that old AMC show. from like 10 years ago.
What was that?
The Killing.
Oh, all right. I remember that.
It was when a lot of networks were doing those like season-long murder mysteries, but it was
Oh,
like
yeah.
existential murder mysteries,
Sure.
and no one cared.
Did you hear that Sandman dropped another episode today?
I heard. I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah. It's 2 individual issues out of Dream Country. It's Calliope and it's Dream of a Thousand Cats.
And the Cats one is animated.
Yeah.
That's
it's
cool.
Full of the best voice actors, including all of Neil Gaiman's friends, like David Tennant, Michael Sheen.
Neil Gaiman.
I don't know who that is.
So you just finished Sandman season 1, so I assume you're going to watch that episode tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah, you're right. Perfect timing for me on that.
I think it's interesting how Netflix is doing stuff like that now. Like Sandman, as a property, kind of more easily does that because so much of the content they're adapting included little one-shot anthology stories, the things that didn't necessarily feature the Sandman cast or took place in other eras or whatever. So it's easy to just out of nowhere be like, here's another episode.
Yeah.
That we filmed separately or that we did a month later or animated or whoever.
Arthur Darvill's in the Calliope one.
I heard that. But I don't know that they could get away with that with a lot of their other series. Like, I don't think you could just randomly have dropped, like, a Lucifer episode. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's... I feel like they're doing that. Netflix is trying to... Some of it is Netflix trying to stretch out how long... Like, how much of a subscription you need to watch a show.
Yeah.
So if you got, Sandman... I think this is the end of the first month that they've had Sandman. So that one doesn't quite line up, I don't think.
Yeah, it started August 4th, I want to say.
But, like, the way they split up Stranger Things into, like, 2 different months, so you would need at least 2 months of subscriptions to watch it all. I think some of it is also them trying to be competitive with other streaming services, where it's like, oh, is everyone talking about the new She-Hulk show? Hey, here's a new Sandman episode.
That sounds like it's a thing that they would do.
Feels like it.
I don't know. I still think it's neat to find it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the sort of thing that is, I think, great for viewers. Like, it's cool to just randomly have a new episode of something that you weren't expecting as a little gift.
Sometimes you're talking with a customer in the store, and they're wrong about a thing, and you just don't want to correct them because correcting them just makes you sound petty.
Yeah, it makes them defensive.
We were talking about Sandman, and that I literally just found out that the episode had dropped.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned it, and he's like, yeah, they told everybody all along that it was going to be 10 episodes, but they only released 8, so they still have another one to go. And in my head, I'm like, no, it was 10 episodes. I watched all 10. Mm-hmm. This is episode 11.
Yeah, it does.
But he kept harping on the, they only released 8, and so, like, there's at least one more to come. It's like, I don't want to take away that guy's hope that there's another episode he's looking forward to. And maybe there is. I don't know. But all I know is I did watch 10 full episodes, so it's not a thing that he was wrong.
Unless you're part of the scheme to convince this guy that there were 10 episodes when there were only 8.
I don't know. He was somebody who I can't remember if he bought anything, but he was very interested in jumping into any conversation Lizzie and I were having.
Okay.
And we were talking about RJ's wedding, about the brunch wedding,
Sure.
about how Lizzie was just at a brunch wedding, a wedding in the morning,
Right.
that had sort of brunch.
Great.
And
Ideal wedding.
What?
Ideal wedding.
Yeah. And I officiated a wedding where it was in the evening, but the food was brunch. It was all breakfast foods.
Sure.
So we were comparing those, and he jumped into that conversation. And then, as he was leaving, he's like, "Hey, I'm real sorry to jump into all your conversations, but that's kind of what I come here for."
That's why we put it in the name of the store.
And also, if I came into a comic shop and couldn't do that, I would feel sad as I was leaving.
Sure.
And we're like, "No, of course, help yourself, whatever, blah blah blah." But it's like, I just wish it translated into more sales.
Yeah, but at the same time, I always do appreciate when the energy level in the store is high.
Yeah.
I don't like being at the store for 6 hours or 8 hours and not having fun conversations.
Agreed.
Or people who are having a good time or whatever. That's a bummer for me.
Speaking of fun conversations,
Let's.
I need to phrase this in a way because I need you to guess, but I need you to not guess wrong right off the bat.
Okay.
A former challenger popped out of a floorboard today.
Okay.
Someone that used to work for us back 2013,
Okay.
and we haven't seen them in a while.
Okay.
And they were in with a family member of theirs,
Uh-huh.
and we chatted for a bit, and they may be interested in coming back to the fold on random Saturdays to work on our back issues. That was the main clue right there. Yeah, to work on the back issues.
Oh.
What's my name?
Patrick, did I say his last name?
Just say his letter.
Patrick R.
Patrick R.
Wow, how's Patrick R doing?
He's doing great.
That's excellent.
He's got glasses now, and they're the exact same frames when I first got glasses that I got twice in a row. The Ray-Bans that are black but with red inside the arms and
Sure.
the white lettering.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was talking to him and his mom, and she's like, oh, he loved having a name tag, and I pulled it out. I'm like,
Still
it's
have
still
it.
here.
We didn't get rid of that.
Yeah. So she had asked if maybe he could come back. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Sure.
And literally, Lizzie was bagging back issues.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, as you can see, Patrick, the work on back issues never ends.
It never ends.
It never ends.
Never ends.
Yeah, it was interesting. Just a lot of catch up. Like, what did you guys do during the pandemic? All
Of
that kind of
course,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
2013, man, oh man.
I only know it's 2013 because as I was explaining to Lizzie his history with the store. Well, I mean, she worked at the same time, but they never overlapped.
Yeah, he was just on Tuesdays, I think, mostly.
Yeah. And I pointed up to the certificate of appreciation we have on the wall from them.
Uh-huh.
And it specifically was made out in December of 2013.
Oh, nice.
So that's how I can be like, oh man, it was 9 years ago.
It was.
Can't believe it was 9 years
Luckily,
ago.
we didn't get any older.
Yeah, exactly. He seems taller.
Well, that's good. He can get older. That's fine.
He made a joke about like famous Patricks, and he was including me in the list, but he also said Patrick Bateman. I'm like, hold on there, man.
Huh. I mean, he's not wrong.
Maybe,
He's not wrong.
can I be in a different list?
Famous Jasons. Also Jason Bateman.
Yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, a very surprised, like, hey, look at that.
Yeah, that's great.
Former Challenger cameo. Old home week. Well, day.
Yeah.
And old because I'm old.
Uh-huh.
It, as we pointed out, everybody who's listening now is a solid, like, 40 minutes older
It's
than when we started this. And I'm not sorry for that.
It depends
I'm
if they
not.
listen to it straight through or if they took breaks. Some people listen to it on 1.5 speed.
True. And then we sound like chipmunks.
Okay.
Well, we just talk faster that way.
Yeah.
Did you know, and this is not comic related at all, except for the fact that I was brought to it last night by a club member.
Okay.
There is a monument in the city of Chicago that is called Shit Fountain.
I did not know that.
It is, in fact, a working fountain
Okay.
that is a giant carved pile of shit
Okay.
that's sitting on a column,
Okay.
a Doric column,
Okay.
that's inscribed Shit Fountain,
Okay.
and there's water that just comes out from the top of it.
Okay. Why?
I don't know.
Okay. I don't want to go there.
Why not?
I don't want to see
Chicago
shit
landmark.
fountain. I don't care.
It's not real shit, Dal. It's just
I
stone
don't
carved
care.
into it.
I don't care.
Well, it's a thing, and apparently more people knew of it than I realized.
Yeah,
And now you do too.
I do.
Don't
and
you feel like you're in the know?
I wish I did not know.
Aw.
My life is.
Do you know where it is?
Worse. No.
Okay. Augusta and Damon.
Okay.
Just in front of somebody's house.
Okay.
Yeah. It's only like this big.
Okay.
It's not like, what I immediately thought of was like, oh, that dinosaur we saw at the Dunn Museum could have done this.
Okay.
That was one of the conceits of the Dunn Museum, is that they tried to be historically accurate to their geographic location.
Yeah, like what dinosaurs were in Libertyville in dinosaur times.
Yeah. I think that's neat. And it was terrifying. Those claws were amazing. All right, Dal, so I complained about all the solicits coming out in November 2022.
Correct.
And we talked about the building trying to keep us out of
We
the
did.
main door.
Yeah.
I feel like there... Oh, yeah. So I don't know how to segue into this in a good way.
Uh-huh.
At a different point of this week than today, perhaps over multiple days, who can really say,
Who can say?
we had occasion to visit some other comic shops.
We did.
Shops that...
I'd never been to.
nor had I. I had not been in either of these locations before. And I don't... Look, if you're listening to this, it's because you either like our store or appreciate what we do. And every store has things for people. There's something that people can find in every store that they like. There's reasons they go to it, but aside from just geographic location. I was disappointed in both stores.
Yeah, it's a really difficult thing to talk about because you never want to be disparaging of someone else's business model. I would not have enjoyed working in either one of the shops, but at the same time, I don't know that I would feel confident enough in my acumen as a business person to say, well, they should do what Challengers does. I don't know that it would succeed in those places.
Right.
I don't know if those neighborhoods or that clientele would support it. They probably wouldn't. The fact that those stores are still around probably means that they are doing something that is beneficial to the people in those neighborhoods or cities. Sure.
A couple of years ago, we were doing a store errand and stumbled across a store that we didn't know was there and went in. And it was a thing that both of us were like, this is not how we would run a store, blah, blah, blah. And I think you said something like, you would love that store for the first 2 months because you would make all these changes, and then you'd be bored and you'd hate yourself for working there.
Yeah.
Do you remember saying that?
I
Or
do,
did you just
I
hear
do.
that and go, yeah, no, I believe I said that.
No, I know exactly what store we're talking about,
Yeah.
too. Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's things where...
Look, when you and I worked for the other store, we would frequently go into other locations at night and be like, what would you change?
Yep.
What could we do better?
Sometimes-
What would...
Sometimes I actually did it.
Yeah.
Like, not without permission, but I would end up going over some other manager's head to go to the owners and go, please let me spend a day there fixing this because it's terrible.
Yeah. What if you did Marvel on the top 2 shelves, DC on the middle 2 shelves?
What if you moved everything to the middle of the store? The counter was directly in the middle of a very narrow store. What
Yeah.
if you did that? No, so this is a thing that from 25 years of working in shops, longer, 30
Yeah.
30 years,
Yeah.
there's a point where you've done it for so long where you're constantly looking for things to do. You don't want days at work where you have nothing to do, where you're sitting around. Those are way worse than days where you're working the whole time. Days where you're working the whole time, ringing people up, working on projects, doing paperwork, whatever, fly by. Those feel like half days.
And you also feel accomplished at the end of those as well.
There's a sense of accomplishment, absolutely. But when you have nothing to do, or you're not doing
Or
anything...
you choose to do nothing.
then those days drag. Like, even if you're just like, I'm going to sit around and read comics. For what, 8 hours? Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Those days suck. Those are the days where I hate my job. So when I go into a store and I see a ton of things that could be worked on, I think, why haven't they been worked on? Why haven't those boxes been cut up? Why haven't that shelf been, like, fixed so it's not falling over? Why haven't these piles been put away where people can't see them? Like, all of these things. Even at the most, busy locations, like, there have been times with Challengers before we brought Molly Jan on where it's like, I'm slammed all day. Like, we're ringing people up constantly, and I still manage to get other stuff done because it needs to get done. You have to just keep working on stuff. Maybe not the biggest projects, but the store still looks good. So when I go into other stores where they're not busy and I look and I'm like, okay, well, there's no one here besides me. Why am I not seeing you doing stuff?
Yeah.
Like, why? Beyond just, like, what are you getting paid for? There's the sense of, like, why don't you want to do it? Like, that's the bigger part in my brain is, why don't you feel enough, like, pride in your job, in your store, to make these things a priority, to be working on them right now?
Hilariously,
Drives me crazy.
one of the stores we walked into, there was nobody there. And we mean nobody, just the two of
I
us.
just assumed there was a guy in the back.
Yeah, because there was
all right.
a back room and the back door was open.
Yep.
So we just started looking around, and I don't know, like, how many minutes did you say we were there?
3 minutes, probably.
Three minutes. I think that's a good guess. And a guy comes, like, running in with his lunch. He's like, sorry, there was a line at the food place.
Can't believe that guy didn't lock the door. Cannot believe it. I mean, it was like 2 doors down at a strip mall, but, like, again, literally anyone... I don't know. We didn't see him leave the store. So, like, he had to be gone from the store for at least 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's like, you left the front door unlocked for 5 minutes. Why would you think that was okay? Why not put up a back in 5 minute sign and lock the door?
And
Crazy to me.
when we visit another comic store, I always feel like I should buy something.
Yes.
So we did. We did there.
Sure.
Non-traditional things. It's always like...
That's usually what we
I
buy.
wish I could remember if we need anything for anybody.
We used to, like, sometimes reach out to whoever was working at that day that we weren't at the store to be like, hey, by the way, like,
Send us photos of the
yeah,
special order book.
what do we need for people if there's, like, a recent comic?
But then when we were at a different store at a different point, there was just nothing.
Yeah, again, it usually has to be non-traditional stuff because anything comics or graphic novels we can get already and we probably already own. So it needs to be something where it's like, oh, a toy that we didn't get or maybe we didn't think we needed, or some handcrafted goods. Like one time you were at the shop and it was like towels or something?
Hand embroidered towels, yeah.
Yeah. She's like, this is great. Let's
and then
get
I
that.
immediately took it home and washed the Captain America one, and it got all pink.
Yeah, like, I mean, and it cuts both ways because...
yes, I knew I was washing it with red socks, but those socks have been washed like 100 times before, and I think they would still...
Nothing's going to come out of
affect.
it. But, like, when Jen from the Dragon stopped by the store, she walked away with...
Rachel Bart stuff.
Because Rachel Bart's a local artist, and they don't have that in Canada.
You say walked away because she just stole those.
She probably did.
Yeah, she just put them in her pocket.
I knew it.
And then the next day is like, get me more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really
I need more ill-gotten goods. And we said, okay, sure, you want an Eisner Award. That's what we have to do. It's a policy.
We need to restock Rachel Bard, but didn't you get the impression that Molly Jane was going to reach out to her last week?
Yeah, I was about to end your sentence with, I thought Molly Jane said she was doing that.
Yeah, but I figured, I don't know that she did.
She had specifically asked us what quantities she should stock up to.
Yeah, because we sold out of Come Home Soon today.
Sure. We sold out of some of the stickers immediately.
Yeah. Oh, but I don't think we have any of the stickers left.
Yeah, but you're right.
I literally forgot about the sticker packs.
Yeah, stickers are great. We should get a bunch of stickers.
Also, I think... Oh, I don't want to say her name wrong. I won't say it all. Someone we were talking about to do something for us will be coming in Monday.
Okay, cool.
So you'll have to handle that.
Okay. Have you had an initial conversation? Okay.
I may in the interim.
I would maybe...
Literally, an email just popped up as we were recording, and I saw the first, like, hey, are you free Monday?
Sure. Yeah, I would maybe just give a quick email of, like, this is what we're... And then we can have a conversation about it.
So that's fine.
Sure.
So along the lines of always looking at a shop and thinking, like, I want to make some changes. Mm-hmm. There's things I want to do. Like, just little things. There's a thing that I wanted to do recently that I didn't really know how I wanted to... I wanted to move the Pride poster.
Yes.
But I didn't want to get rid of it. I wanted to keep it. But I didn't know where to put it.
Sure.
And I think when I was talking with Drew and Ashley on Wednesday, I came up with it like, oh, this will go here, and then this will move there, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So I did that today. I found out that whoever mounted the Pride poster to the front counter used packing tape.
Oh.
Yeah, see? That's the right reaction. We never used packing tape on the counter.
No.
Yeah, so it was a whole bunch of like, okay, so A, it's much harder to get off than I thought it was going to be. Then B, I had to gently peel off all the tape, and C, scrub that counter for a while with Goo Gone to get up all the residue. Yeah, so if you didn't do it, which believe me, I didn't. I knew you did not do it.
No, I didn't do it.
I know. I just said that.
I know.
And I didn't do it.
Probably a conversation I have.
Yeah, but that's the thing we may have never said. Like, hey, don't do this, because there's things we take for granted as common sense.
Oh yeah.
But sad news. When I was so I took the Pride poster down.
Okay.
Set up a table inside Cakes so I could lay it out flat and reinforce the back with packing tape and keep it. And so we can put the tape on the back and it could be reusable, whatever.
Got it.
So it was going up near the area where the safety pin banner has been this whole time.
Of course, sure.
The safety pin banner did not survive its removal from
sorry,
the wall.
Patrick.
I know. And because I had specifically, I wanted to... I had a place for that to go. I wanted to keep that there because I think the symbology of that is important for people. But it didn't.
Sorry, man.
Because when I had to put it up, I used 1,000 pieces of tape, and I could not get it off the wall.
Sorry, dude.
Also, I'm on the second to highest step on the big ladder, and I'm leaning and pulling. I'm like, I'm not comfortable doing this.
No.
I'm stretching too far.
No. Too great a risk.
And then I had to take the ladder down, move it over, go back up there with Goo Gone to clean off. Because over the years, dust falls behind it and gets stuck on the tape. So when you peel the tape off, it's like, oh, here's outlines of where all that tape was.
Sure.
So I had to go up there and scrub the wall.
Crazy.
I'm like, I don't want to come back up here, and now I'm leaning further and scrubbing. But yeah, I'm sad to say the safety pin banner didn't survive.
It had a good run.
It did, but I know no one's gonna think oh, it's gone. It's not a safe place anymore. Hopefully, the fact that it's been replaced by a Pride poster is
yeah, I think it's a good substitution. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, I was trying to do this so delicately. Dal had callously suggested that we throw Stan Lee away and put the Pride poster up there, to which I told him, A, Stan Lee is never going away, B, when it does come down, it's being replaced with a vinyl banner we're putting up forever.
Okie doke.
So I assume you made that already.
I have not. I was too busy reading Exterminators #1 today.
Oh, how was it?
It's a preview book from Marvel's box site. I really liked it.
Yeah?
Carlos Gomez does the art. It's very fun. Leigh Williams writes it, so it's if you liked X Factor, you're going to like this. The premise is just real strong. Dazzler gets broken up with, so she needs to get drunk with some friends. Those friends are Boom Boom and Jubilee, and because they're X-Men, something terrible happens,
Sure.
and they get wrapped up in a crazy adventure.
And the Wolverine is in it.
Not so much in the
And
first
the Wolverine
issue.
is on the cover.
And the Wolverine is on the cover, that's correct. Very large on the cover, despite the story not really being the Wolverine story.
Wolverine!
I liked it a lot. I found it very fun and a really good energy level for that book. The art, again, very fun. Just a fun comic book, man. Like, I'm going to say that word a bunch of times. I'm probably going to say it again on the week it comes out if I'm on the TikTok, Instagram
And
video.
if you're not, I'll say it. Dal said this is very fun.
But yeah, I found it to be a book that is maybe going to be overlooked because it is just kind of a random X-Men miniseries. It doesn't feel like it's definitely not tied into anything that's going on in any of the books. Again, the main character is Dazzler, who's not in a comic right now, and Jubilee.
That's why she needs to be in this book.
Jubilee and Boom Boom, who I think are also not in a book right now.
Bill Sienkiewicz had a Dazzler triptych up.
He did. That's true. A cover to
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exterminators was really good.
Excellent.
I liked the first issue quite a bit.
I read stuff this week, and I know I did, and I read stuff. I can't remember. I read a DC book or two, and I feel like I read a Vault or an AWA or something, and I liked it, and not enough to remember what it was.
Oh no.
I definitely just yesterday clicked on a PDF link to read a book that was in an email. Oh wait, no, it's coming to me. It's Aftershock, and it's like Project IM 66.
Is it that 06 thing?
What's 06?
I think is that an AWA thing, like the 06 project or something.
Oh, maybe it's AWA. I said Aftershock, didn't I? Yeah, it's probably that one.
Yeah, I didn't read that. I just saw the email.
I read it and I liked it. It's basically there's a back in the day, scientists created a formula to make like the super soldier serum, right?
Okay.
And it was supposed to go into genetically modified babies, so it would like kick in at adolescence, and they'd be trained to be super soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
Only there was a mix-up, and the serum went everywhere,
Okay.
and no one knows. Like, just random people had it, so the whole project was scrapped. But there was a cleanup crew designated to, when these people were activated, take them down, because without the training component, they're just murderous psychopaths.
Okay.
And that's all I can say without giving too much away.
Okay.
It's weird because I looked at the cover to it, looked a lot like the artist who did Marjorie Finnegan, but it was not.
I see.
I thought it was an interesting enough premise, and like there's like, oh my god, this reveal. I'm like, no, you knew that was coming, but it still makes the story better.
Sure.
So I enjoyed that. I wish I knew the name of it. It was called I Am, and then a number, and the I Am was for Iron Mike Tyson.
Oh, okay.
And the number was something else, but I think you're right. I think it's the 06 project.
Something like that. I remember 06 being part of the title.
Let me talk about a book that I can't name for people to not be able to sign up for.
Uh-huh. So when people say, I want that book that Patrick read, Patrick can go, I don't know what it is. I can't sign you up for it.
And I know I read a couple of DC previews this week, and I can't remember what those are either. Good talk. Loving it. Yeah, thanks. I'm
Great content.
very, very happy to vaguely hint at books and things. Don't forget, we have our back issue sale coming up on Labor Day weekend, where it is half off every $1.99 back issue,
So they're
and
only 99 cents.
we are hard at work making new ones for you.
Bunch of stuff in the back that we're digging out.
Yeah. Other stuff. Things are coming around. We've got a bunch of stuff ready. Sorry, there's a bunch of pre-orders waiting for us apparently.
Yay.
And I realized that somebody had put in a bunch today, and each time it came up, I saw it because I was going to ring up a customer, and then I never got back to it.
I see.
So there are a bunch waiting to be approved.
Super cool.
And then there was, so you and I talked today briefly about somebody that signed up just for 5 copies of a one-shot.
Yeah, the Amazing
we're like-
Spider-Man Facsimile Edition.
Yeah, like we're not going to put them in, like make them a divider or whatever.
No.
But then somebody else was in and said, hey, so, like, how does this work? Because I signed up online. And I dug through the boxes. I'm like, oh no, we must have missed you. Like, because whenever I get an email that says new people have signed up, that means make a divider.
Sure.
Or not if it's just a hold person.
Correct.
But this person signed up for Love Everlasting
Okay.
and didn't have a divider. So
Okay.
I made one
They
today.
might have signed up after issue 1 came out. So, I mean,
Okay.
sometimes we don't end up making those dividers until, like, the book actually comes out. And
Okay.
then
Whatever.
you do it the smart way. I'm not disagreeing.
But it's like, oh, you're a club member now, and it's so weird to me to not know that. Because we don't
talked
sign
about
people
this.
up.
Like, usually, and I don't know if this is better or worse, usually before Managed Comics, people would come into the shop and eventually, if they'd been shopping there long enough, they might say, is there a way I can get these set aside for me? Or, like, do you have a subscription service? And we'd explain the subscription service to them, and we'd walk them through all the policies, and we'd give them a sign-up sheet, and we'd give them a pen, and we'd let them sign up, and then we'd be like, hey, so...
Then we'll go over their list, make sure we understand everything,
Right,
make sure
but-
they're not asking for things that don't come out.
But we'd also start to have a conversation about, like, did you shop someplace else before? Or, like, how did you find us? Kind of get to know somebody. But with Managed Comics, it streamlines the process. It opens it up to a lot more people. Like, you don't have to come to Challengers, shop for a while, and then eventually figure out the subscription service. You can just do it from our website. You can just do it not even knowing a subscription service is a thing. You're just pre-ordering an item or
Yeah.
pre-ordering a series.
Or if you ask us, we just hand you a QR code.
So way more people are signing up than we would get signups for before. But the kind of downside is that we don't have that initial onboarding process.
And we don't know who they are.
We don't know who they are. We don't know where they came from. We don't know what their deal is. We don't have that sort of personal connection that we used to have.
When I was, I didn't work
And that's not great sometimes.
Monday, and you had messaged me about somebody, and in my head I'm like, who is that?
Yes.
I don't even know this person.
Yeah.
And then it made me realize, like today I went in and looked at the customer activity
Sure.
link, whatever tab. Thank you.
Sure.
Because I'm not seeing people add and drop things, so they do it on their own, and like 65% of that page is all drops.
Sure.
I mean, it was eye opening. I'm like, oh man, like there's so many people, and like some of it's dead stuff, people clearing out or whatever.
Sure.
But there's people I'm like, are you quitting club? You're dropping so many things, or like this person dropped 5 things, added 1.
Sure.
Stuff like that. It's like, oh, there's very few that are just an ad or a couple of ads. It's
Right.
all drops and things, and it's like, I should really pay attention to this tab more often.
Some of that is different times of the month, though. Like, I think if you were looking at it in the 2 weeks after a catalog drops, it's going to be
A lot
exact
more
opposite.
ads, yeah.
It's going to be 90% ads and 10% drops. You just and it's the same way where, like, middle of the week, yeah, you're going to get people picking up their books and being like, I don't want this comic anymore, and dropping
Sure.
stuff.
Yeah.
Where on the weekends, you're going to see people looking at the FOC page and going, oh, I want to make sure I get this or that. Or they'll read something in the Friday email, or the Thursday email?
Thursday email.
Or, they'll listen to something on the podcast on Sunday. So that those range of dates is probably going to change.
Okay, so I expect to see a lot of people on Monday signing up for Exterminators #1.
I
Got
hope
it.
so. I think it's one at FOCs.
Oh, whoops.
Well, I can't remember because it got pushed back a lot, so I don't remember if we FOC'd it or not. I don't know. Either way, I mean, if we didn't FOC it yet, I'm going to order a bunch, and if we did FOC it, I probably already ordered a bunch.
Oh, the Hard Eyes came in today,
Yeah.
so
That's cool.
We've
Last
got
copies
those.
we're going to get before it goes back to press.
yeah. I don't know if you would have seen this. There's a meme going around where it looks like 2 younger people presenting.
girl?
Yeah.
Yep.
Have you seen that one?
Yep.
Okay. So there was one today
Mm-hmm.
that Morgan Kaiju Perry made, and it was her explaining ratio variance.
That's great.
Yeah, it's the best one I've seen.
It works for anything. Like, I've seen it in so many different pop culture and like, genres of fandoms.
Sure.
It's great. It's great.
And like they're all clever, but like never has one been so exclusively comics
Oh,
industry.
yeah. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, it was on her Twitter. Loved it.
Uh-huh.
It was exactly what we needed. That Morgan always gets it right.
She's good at what she does, and I guess what she does in this case is memes.
And also listening to this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So this is for Morgan and everyone. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.